In 2002, a spinal tumor began to paralyze my body. A year earlier, in 2001, I had a business worth $100 million. What happened was I had this amazing business, was growing fast, everything was going well. September 11th basically wiped us out.
We're just getting reports in now that a plane has crashed into the World Trade Center.
2 planes have crashed into the World Trade Center in New York.
There have been a series of terrorist attacks in the United States.
Pictures just in showed the building already on fire, with smoke billowing from the upper floors. We have no details.
We were starting from scratch. So I began to lose everything, including feeling in my legs. I began falling, and I had cuts, scrapes, and bruises all over my body from the frequent falls. I remember thinking, I don't know how I'm going to feed my family. I don't know what I'm going to do for income. I wanted to make it my whole life. I finally made it. And what happens? I lose it all. So what I thought about at that time was a very good friend of mine had got me introduced into buying rental property. While I was making money, he actually sold me a few of his rental properties. Once I lost everything, the only thing I had left was those 2 rental properties. I liquidated those, and I started from scratch at $100,000. I decided that I wanted to get in the real estate game. I wanted to learn real estate. So I wanted to buy real estate in areas I was certain would increase rapidly in value. So what I had learned was a little thing called divergence. Divergence is when the price of an asset is moving in the opposite direction of the indicator. It warns that the current price trend might be weakening, and in some cases may lead to the price changing direction. So some indicators moving in the opposite direction. So what's an example of that? Well, I looked at the Florida real estate market. Florida had one of the lowest home prices in the country, average home price, and yet it was the second fastest growing state. Why, if it's the second fastest growing state, did it have one of the lowest prices of housing? Basic economics will tell you there's a law of supply and demand, meaning if there's more supply than there is demand, then the price is going to go down. If there's more demand than there's supply, the price is going to go up. In this case, there was more demand than there was supply, but the prices weren't going up. Divergence. So to me, that said that the price, which was remaining fairly constant, was about to change. So I go from being worth $100 million to being worth $100,000, which was just the leftover money I had after I sold those 2 rental properties. I moved to Florida, but I got to buy my own house, right? So I had to put 40 grand down on that house. Now I got 60 grand left. But wait a minute, it's Christmas. I got to buy my kids presents. I got to survive. I got to pay rent, mortgage, whatever for a little while. Groceries. I can't spend all that money. What am I going to do? So I bought a rental property. Now the house that I bought needed some remodeling done. I didn't really have enough money to start hiring contractors and doing all that, so of course I had to do a lot of the work myself. Well, what happened? I'm slowly losing feeling in my legs, but I got to keep working, so I did. But then the pain was getting worse, and then the tumor was getting worse, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. At that time, I actually didn't know it was a tumor. I also didn't know what the future was going to hold, and all I knew is I had to survive, so I just kept going. So you can actually buy a house. Let's say you bought today a house for $350,000. That house, though, was in a $500,000 neighborhood, but it needed, let's say, $100,000 worth of work. But you could do that work yourself. Maybe you could do that work for, say, $30,000. So that's what I did. And I did the next one, and the next one, and the next one, but I'm slowly going paralyzed. At this point, I couldn't walk anymore. I'm in horrible pain. I can't sleep at night. Everything's going bad. They tell me I got a 50-50 chance of dying on the operating table, but they said I had to go in for surgery right away because one sneeze, I'd be dead. Like, wait, I sneeze all the time. They go, yeah, but one of them, you don't know which one of those could sever your spinal cord. Why? Because the tumor had grown so large, it actually filled my spinal column, and my spinal cord was crushed like a pancake up against the bone. So literally, I could turn my head the wrong way. My spinal cord would be severed. Any one of my falls that I had done could have killed me. Any sneeze could have killed me. A cough could have killed me. Now, by now I had 6 kids. I couldn't just take my chances and, hey, I had to make sure my kids are going to be okay. I need to make sure my finances are in shape. So what I'm doing is, at that point, I believe I had about 40 houses I'd accumulated, but I need a lot more because if I died, my family needed to be taken care of for the rest of their life, and I had a baby that was a year old. So I now had to get from where I was to, believe it or not, 30 million in holdings. That's about what I figured, because if I had 30 million in holdings, there'd be about 10 million in equity. So what did I have to do? I had to do another one and another one. I had to start doing 2, 3 a week. Now Now, where do you get the money to do that? Well, the only way you can get it is from the earlier houses that you did. But guess what? Remember when I was talking to you guys about the $300,000 house and the $500,000 neighborhood? Well, so now those $500,000 houses were becoming worth $600,000 and $700,000. Same idea. So now I was able to actually refinance a bunch of those, pull out even more equity, buy even more houses, and accelerate this whole thing. So now I got to 100 houses, 10 million in equity, 30 million in total value. I scheduled the surgery. So I finally go into the hospital for surgery on a Sunday night. It's late. The surgeon does all these tests. He says, listen, there's no chance you're ever gonna walk again, but we will be able to get you out of pain somewhat. But I said, hold it, doc. I just wanna say one thing. Give me a piece of paper. And I wrote down 2 weeks with a walker, 2 weeks with a cane. I'll never use either one again. He patted me on the shoulder condescendingly and said, it's good to be positive. So I go in, I get the surgery, I wake up, I move my toes. Nobody could believe it. Anyway, I got some sleep, literally slept the entire next day, woke up the next day and said, bring your 2 biggest guys in here. I got to get out of this bed. And they're like, no. You're going to be here 12 weeks. There's no more. I said, get your 2 biggest guys. They got 2 big guys. They helped me walk. I'm literally, I was a big guy. I'm a big guy. The gown covered me about halfway. I took a walk with a walker around the nurse's station, and I'm sweating, and I'm farting, I'm shitting. I got no control. It's just everything's going everywhere. I got people following me with towels. We're going around. I come back. I'm exhausted. I pass out. I wake up. I say, I got to go for a walk again. I do it again. Obviously, I can barely use my legs. I'm just holding my weight up like this, and it's sweating. It's horrible. Anyway, I do this for a day, and I say, hey, call a doc, I'm going home. They're like, you can't go home. You're supposed to be here for 3 weeks. Nope, call a doctor, I'm going home. They let me go home the next day. I'm done. I'm ready to go home and start building my empire. But that was the beginning of 2008. So comment below if you want to hear the rest of that story.
So I think this is the most significant financial crisis in the post-war period.
There are fears the sell-off will continue on Wall Street.
Soaring gas prices, falling home prices, and rising unemployment.
What kind of recipe is that?
Overall, that's a recipe for a recession.
2008 was a bad dream.